Welcome, everybody. It's Brad Show Live. It is Wednesday, May 27th. I got the date right because I'm in quarantine and I forget the days and weeks, and everything just flows in from one day to the other. I don't know if it's a weekend. I don't know if it's a weekday anymore. So every time I start my show now these days, I'm like, what? Wait, what day is it again right now? It is Wednesday, May 27th. As a matter of fact, I think a couple weeks ago in one of the schmoozes, we were even talking about that they did a scientific study where they said that people are more forgetful now in quarantine. They're forgetting the days and weeks, and I think I am as well. But it is Hump Day. I do know that, and that means we're in the middle of our week. We have some Hump Day news. We like to celebrate Hump Day and get a little randy here on Brad Show Live. But first, let me say hello to the squad while we get into our show. Marge Higgs saying, hey, Marge Higgs giving me a scare today. She texted me. Then I texted her back, and then we're all cool. She knows what I'm talking about. Malvia Finley saying hello. Javel Finnegan saying, what's going on? How are you? Share. That's right, Javel. Thank you very much. Share is right. You guys are our publicists, Brad Squad. You guys are our advertising agency, Brad Squad. This is what social media does. You got to share and tell people, tell your friends, tell your acquaintances, tell your social media friends that this is a pretty cool show, and it's a great group of people to hang out with for an hour, or when we get back on our real stage, with Yo-Yo and Nesquik, 2 hours, and certainly get a lot of good information and some fun as well. So as Javel Finnegan says on Hump Day, share. Tracy Haynes, how are you? Squad up, peeps, says Katie and Plunkett. Marlene Watt Russell, how are you? Ranny Pandit saying hello, sir. Hello back to you, Ranny. Yo-Yo Elias is in the house. He was checking out my Instagram. He wants to go on vacation with me and my family. We got to talk about that. I said to him, well, you are part of the family, so yes, you can come on vacation. Yes, you're a lot of fun, but that's another mouth to feed. We got to figure that one out. Mitzi McFarland, how are you? Brian Peterson, squad up. Tor Davis with a question. Any word on when the embassy in Jamaica is going to reopen? Seen England embassy already handing out interviews for June. No, unfortunately, I have not seen that. I know USCIS is going to be opening on June 4th. And as a matter of fact, on uscis.gov, maybe we'll talk about that tomorrow, they gave a kind of like instructions on how they're going to open, how they're going to social distance. You're not allowed in the building until 30 minutes before your interview or your appointment, but we'll get into all of that tomorrow. That's for USCIS stateside. Jamaica, I haven't seen anything yet, but hopefully soon. I think every embassy is going to be different based on what's going on in that particular country. England's pretty bad with coronavirus. I can't imagine Jamaica's worse than England. I've not seen the statistics from Jamaica, but I can't imagine it's worse there. But right now, I have not seen anything. But I will be on the lookout for it, Tor Davis. Efren Pareja said, hello, Brad. More power to your show. Thank you. Also, more power to me and the crew. Thank you. Rosalie Messam, giving a high five. High five right back to you. Sylvie Edward, good afternoon, Uncle Brad. How you doing? I'm doing okay, Sylvie, today. I'm doing okay. I hope everybody's doing okay, too. Deanna Moore, Alyssa Enot, squad up. Brad and his team continues to do the fantastic work for you and your team. One love to you all. Thank you very much. And Marge Higgs shared 5 times. She is happy today, Marge Higgs. Verona Greenland, squad up. Bolani Bonojo with an immigration question. We'll get to you in a little bit. Jeff Bozy, popping in from Long Island, saying hello to everyone everywhere. I think Long Island is reopening up, Jeff Bozy. So maybe, you can get out of your house a little bit now and see what's going on in the world. Rochelle Sinclair Brown, we love and respect you, Uncle Brad. Thank you very much. Faye Lannis, how are you? And Janet Brad, I'm calling her. I'm calling Janet Brown, Janet Brad. That would be funny. That'd be funny if we just renamed Janet Brown, Janet Brad. Janet Brad, squad up, guys. How are you? Simone Garraway, how are you as well? Melissa Edwards, Sylvie Edward, Christy Consali, all saying hello on YouTube. On Facebook. My apologies. On YouTube, Alyssa Henry, Squad Up, Sexy Shan Myers, Carol, the Top Cat, Tigers 2, Anderson, Tracy Lacey, how are you? Jody Ann Samuels, Sexy Shan Myers, how are you? K, God bless, and 29 Super C, popping in there. Simone Garraway, Tia Prasad, Kadeen Cole, Samba Diop, and Jeremy Goldberg, who's part of the crew. I don't know if you guys know that. Not Jeremy Goldberg, part of the crew here on Bradshaw Live. He's popping in too, saying, Brad's on. Can I get a woo-woo? What is this, Arsenio Wall? All right, so before we get into our schmooze, it is Hump Day. And you know what we do on Hump Day? I got my old hat here. I got an old hat. Inside of this hat are the names that I personally wrote out of every person who went to Instagram in the past week, found Bouncing Brad behind a flag, liked Bouncing Brad, followed Bradshaw Live, and tagged 5 friends. And because they did all 3 of those things, their name gets put into my scratchy old hat. And it's a very scratchy hat because I hate wearing it, because as soon as I put the hat on, I get itchy. So it is a scratchy old hat. And I'm going to pull out of this scratchy old hat the name of one person who did this on Instagram. They're going to get a free consultation. And then we're going to put a new Bouncing Brad up on Instagram to start the new contest for next week. So the winner of the free immigration consultation from liking Bouncing Brad, tagging 5 friends, and following Bradshaw Live on Instagram, the winner is of the free immigration consultation of the week. It's a value of $200. The winner is Sexy Leisha. Sexy Leisha is the winner. And by the way, deservedly so, because I think she tagged 15 friends on Bradshaw Live. She really wanted that free consultation. Sexy Leisha, congratulations. You're the winner of the immigration free consultation giveaway. Every Hump Day, every Wednesday, we give away a $200 valued consultation, absolutely free. All you got to do is following. Now we have Lee, Bedroom Lee. We have a new Bouncing Brad. Yes, that is the new. We have a Shaking Brad this time. Okay, there is no more Bouncing Brad today. Now you have to find Shaky Brad. Okay, so you have to go to Instagram. This is the new consultation, the new free consultation giveaway. Find Shaky Brad. I'm kind of shaking back and forth, kind of maybe shimmying Brad or Shaky Brad. I think it's more Shaky Brad than shimmying. We're going to find Shaky Brad and find me behind the American flag with, it looks like confetti falling down, maybe dollar bills, but I think it's confetti. Find Shaky Brad behind the American flag. Like that post, tag 5 of your friends, follow Bradshaw Live, and your name will be put in my scratchy old hat next Wednesday, and maybe you too will get a free consultation. By the way that, who's our winner again? Sexy Leisha. By the way that Sexy Leisha won is she tagged 15 of her friends. So because she tagged 15 friends, she got her name put in the scratchy old hat 3 times. For every 5 people you tag, you get your name put in the hat 5 more times. I also got to remind everybody, if you are watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook, subscribe, guys. You really got to subscribe. We have so many viewers every day that don't subscribe, that watch on YouTube regularly, or maybe they come and watch once or twice a week simply because they don't get notified when we come on. You have to subscribe, guys. If you're not subscribing, you're never going to be notified when we come on the air. Also, if you don't subscribe to YouTube, you never get an opportunity to become part of the Brad Squad. Now, we'll talk about what's involved with the Brad Squad and what you get for that in a few minutes. But you got to subscribe on YouTube. There's nothing wrong with subscribing. Nothing bad is going to happen to you. Nobody is coming for you because you're subscribing. Nobody's going to think anything bad of you. But what you get is the greatest group ever to walk on the face of the earth. You're going to be part of the Brad Squad, and you get notified every time we come live on the air. You think we come live on the air every time at 4:30? No, we never come live on 4:30, even though that's where we announce we're going to come on. We never come on live at 4:30. We come on live at 4:45. We come on at 5 o'clock, sometimes 5:15. Sometimes it's my fault because I'm a lawyer during the day and I don't get to, decide when my day ends. My day ends when my clients are all satisfied. Sometimes it's Bedroom Lee's fault because he's just lying in bed all day. I don't know what the hell he's doing. He's sleeping. Sometimes it's Jilly's fault. Sometimes it's Pizza's fault. And Pizza's at home right now watching, saying, "What did I do wrong? I'm not in charge of starting this show." But we blame everybody. It's a crew. We never get on time. So the reason we never get on time is the reason why you need to subscribe. And if you're watching on Facebook, you got to like and follow us. Like and follow, subscribe on YouTube, and you will be notified every time we come on the air. Now, if you're watching, as our friends, our Brad Squad says, share. You guys are our advertising agency. I don't have an advertising agency. So people say, "Well, Brad, who does your marketing?" My marketing's done by Brad Squad. They're like, "I never heard of that advertising agency." I said, "Well, you should watch Brad Show Live. They're the advertising agency." So we need Brad Squad to spread the news. Share this with your friends and family. And finally, we're going to be answering your immigration questions in about 15, 20 minutes, maybe 25 minutes, because we have some Hump Day news, which is hopefully some funny news there. But if you don't get your immigration questions answered, and the way you get your immigration questions answered is you leave your question right now in the comments section on YouTube or Facebook, whatever you're watching. You can always follow me at Real Brad Bernstein. Drop me a DM there, and I'll be happy to answer it to the best of my ability. Finally, if you want to speak to me, you want to get on the phone with me, you want to speak to me one-on-one, you want to say, "Hey, Uncle Brad, how are you?" You know how many? I get that a few times a day. So when I get on the phone and somebody says, "Hey, Uncle Brad, how are you?" I know they watch. And they get a little extra special love. I give everybody love, but I get the people who call and get on the phone and they say, "Uncle Brad, how are you? How you doing?" They get a little extra love because I know they're part of the Brad Squad. So the way to do that is call 1-800-529-5465. That's 1-800-LAW-LINK, 1-800-529-5465. Internationally, the number is +1 212-227-8933. And lastly, before we get to my schmooze of the day, if I look like I'm a little, perspiring a little bit, it's not because I'm nervous. I don't have coronavirus, don't worry. But it's hot as heck in my apartment today. And I don't know, the air conditioner is not working. So I'm schwitzing a little bit. So while I schwitz, if anybody knows what that means, I think we got to get to something we like to call schmoozing with Brad. All right. So according to statistics from the Johns Hopkins University, there are now more than 5.6 million coronavirus cases worldwide. 2.3 million people have recovered from coronavirus. 1.69 million people in the United States diagnosed with corona, the most in the world. 99,700 recorded deaths. Now, if there's any good news for coronavirus, and I've not seen any good news, this is still not good news. Everything is relative these days. But if there was any good news, on Monday, Governor Cuomo reported that the lowest daily death total in New York State since they started keeping records. Governor Cuomo said 73 residents died on Monday. And he says, quoting, in this absurd new reality, that's good news. Cuomo said, "At any time and place when we lose 73 New Yorkers, it's tragic. It's tragic now, but relative to where we've been, we're definitely on the other side of the curve. Now, today, Cuomo reported there were 74 deaths on Tuesday. 48 of those were at a hospital. 26 were in a nursing home. Now, the death total in the state of New York is now 23,638 people. That is a lot of people who died just in the state of New York. And there have been over 363,000 cases of coronavirus in the state of New York. But according to Cuomo, total hospitalizations, new hospitalizations, intubations, which is when you get the breathing apparatus, they continue to go down. New hospitalizations dropped to only 181, and that is from a peak of 3,000, not more than 4, 5, 6 weeks ago. So Cuomo says, in order to keep this up, we got to wear masks. We got to keep doing the same thing we're doing every day. He says, when you get up, when you walk out of the house, you got to put your mask on. And that is a reality. Meanwhile, some other good news, if you happen to be living in New Zealand, they don't have coronavirus anymore. There is not a single person being treated in a hospital for coronavirus in all of New Zealand. The country is celebrating 5 consecutive days of not a human being sick of coronavirus in a hospital. Ashley Bloomfield, the head of the country's health ministry, told reporters that the last patient with a confirmed case of corona had been discharged from Auckland's Middlemore Hospital. She says there are actually 21 still active cases in coronavirus that they're watching. Those people are obviously homebound, they're self-quarantining, but for the most part, New Zealand is corona-free. On the other side of the world, unfortunately, Latin America is now the epicenter of the outbreak. Yesterday, the director of the Pan American Health Organization said Latin America has surpassed Europe and the United States in the daily number of reported coronavirus infections, putting the region at the center of the global outbreak. There's now more than 2.4 million cases and more than 143,000 deaths in all of America. Now, Peru and Chile are reporting a high number of cases, and they're among the world's worst hit. They now hold the world's highest infection rates per capita over a 7-day rolling average. And on Tuesday, Chile had 77,961 infections and 806 deaths since the outbreak began. Brazil has overtaken Russia over the weekend to become the country with the most confirmed cases of coronavirus after the United States. A U.S. travel ban for Brazil went into effect or is going into effect tomorrow night. It's going to limit the entry of any foreign nationals, including Brazilians, who are in the country within the last 14 days. Now, I took an antibody test, and people are getting these antibody tests and trying to figure out if they had it. Do they have some sort of a level of immunity? Well, it turns out, at least according to the Centers for Disease Control, that these antibody tests are really not very effective in determining whether or not you had coronavirus. The antibody test used to determine if you were infected. So there's 2 tests that you're taking. There's a test that they stick the thing up your nose and they go, and you're like choking. And then they say, you have coronavirus, you don't have coronavirus. And then they have the antibody test, which is they take a blood test and they look to see if you have antibodies that are building up to prevent you from getting sick from coronavirus. Well, according to the CDC, these antibody tests that are given in the United States have been wrong up to 50% of the time. Antibody tests, they're called serologic tests. They look for evidence in your immune response to the infection. Now, according to the CDC, the serologic test results should not be used to make decisions about grouping persons residing in or being admitted to congregate settings such as schools, dormitories, or correctional facilities, simply because those numbers are up to 50% wrong. Meanwhile, because of coronavirus, there's a lot of states that want to go to a mail-in ballot for November. That way you can, I don't know if everybody's ever been to a polling place in the United States during, especially in a big city, but even in small towns as well. There's a huge line, and then you walk into like a little gymnasium, or you walk into like a little classroom somewhere by a school, or you walk into a little government office building, and there's lots of people crowding around, and you're in this snake of a line to go and vote. And, that is a recipe for getting sick with coronavirus. And you shouldn't, in theory, have to decide on voting and doing your civic duty and dying. Or possibly dying. So a lot of states are going into these mail-in votes. Now, Trump, he's getting upset about the mail-in votes. Why is he getting upset about mail-in votes? Well, he claims the elections are going to be rigged with the mail-in votes. But the real reason is because Republicans win when the voter turnout is low. Republicans lose when voter turnout is high. Why is that? Because as a percentage of people in the United States of America, there is a greater percentage of people who lean liberal, who lean Democrat, than who lean Republican and conservative. So the Republican strategy has always been, for the last 50 years, to win elections, is to reduce low voter turnout, make it difficult for people to cast a vote, whether because limit people, with all different types of laws and barriers. A lot of them were racially motivated. So they want to limit people to voting because they feel that their base will come out and vote no matter what. And they're going to limit the percentage of people, the Democrats and liberals, to come out and vote. That's why they don't like this mail-in vote, because the government's making it easier for people to vote. They could literally get a piece of mail in the mail, take out a pencil, fill it in, and mail it in. Well, Trump says this is going to be rigged. And he made a big tweet on Twitter, and we'll talk about that tweet in a second. And to be honest with you, I have no idea. Okay, I don't know whether how these mail-in ballots work. Every governor says it's perfectly fine. That multiple states, California, they've never had a problem with voting before. Nobody's ever questioned it. They've all been legitimate mail-in votes, including Donald Trump, who did a mail-in vote from the White House to Florida. But now he says because there are going to be so many, it's going to be rigged. And he put a response out on Twitter. He said that clicking on the link. Oh, by the way, he said that. I guess this is a little backwards here. I'm talking. He said that this whole thing is rigged. Twitter's rigged. Not Twitter's rigged. The election is rigged. And in response, Twitter added a misleading tweet prompting users to get the facts about the mail-in ballots. Now, clicking on the link takes the users to a Twitter Moments page, which includes a section titled What You Need to Know. So basically, Twitter has called out Donald Trump. And what he has said is that Twitter has said that you're lying. You're saying untruths. Now, this was the tweet. I got a little confused, so I'm saying this a little backwards. This was the tweet on Tuesday that got Twitter to say that what Trump is saying was false and misleading. What Trump wrote was, there is no way, zero, that mail-in ballots will be anything less than substantially fraudulent. Mailboxes will be robbed, ballots will be forged, and even illegally printed and fraudulently signed. Now, he's making all of these allegations as the president of the United States. Nobody has ever seen any evidence that any of this is true, yet he's saying this. So this is why Twitter has now said that what Trump, this is the first time ever on Twitter that they said for Donald Trump, on all of his lies that he has said, because I think CNN at one point counted that he lies on average 14 times a day, most of the time on Twitter. But this is the first time on Twitter that Twitter said, you're lying. What you're saying is not true. Okay, there will not be forged ballots, illegally printed ballots, fraudulently signed ballots. We don't have any evidence of that any time in the United States of America. So Trump is now all upset. He says Twitter should not get involved in the elections. Now, contrary to Trump's claims, voter fraud and especially fraudulent use of absentee ballots, as I said, it's exceedingly rare. But he keeps saying that. He keeps saying absentee ballot means there's going to be a false result. And he's doing it for two reasons. He doesn't want the absentee ballots to happen in the first place because he wants to keep voter participation in the election low. He wants people to be scared to go vote, that they're going to get coronavirus. But number two, if he loses the election, he can point to say, I got robbed. It was a fraud. I'm not leaving the White House. Now, he also claimed during the 2016 election, when he was still trailing Hillary Clinton by several points, that there was going to be also widespread fraud on election day. He was already priming everybody to say widespread voter fraud on election day. And then all of a sudden he won. Oh, there was no fraud. No fraud, no fraud, no fraud whatsoever. So in another tweet, he accused the Nevada Secretary of State, Barbara Kagaskvi, a Republican, of sending illegal vote by mail ballots and cheating by mailing every registered voter a ballot on the state on June 9th primary elections. So, we'll see what goes on with that. But meanwhile, over Memorial Day, by the way, if I was a governor or I was a Democrat, nobody on the Democratic side is coming out and saying, no, mail-in ballots are absolutely safe. There is no voter fraud. Let me explain to you why there is no voter fraud. Nobody's come out and said that. I'm waiting for the Democrats to come out and say what Donald Trump is saying is a lie. Twitter has come out and said what Donald Trump is saying is a lie. They have pushing people to articles that say there is no voter fraud. But I'm waiting for Biden. I'm waiting for the governor of California. I'm waiting for the governor of New York to come out and say, mail-in ballots, there's no fraud. Let me tell you why. Let me lay it out for you. What he's saying is a lie. Because if you don't go and you counter what Trump says, and Trump says it again and again and again and again, people start believing maybe there is voter fraud. So over the weekend, Donald Trump tweeted, there's a lot of interest in Joe Scarborough. He is a former senator, and he's now on Morning Joe on MSNBC. He said, so a young marathon runner, Lori Klasauskas, just happened to faint in his office, hit her head on his desk and die. And I would think there's a lot more to the story than that. An affair. What about this so-called investigator? Read the story. And Trump attached a story that has been made unproven, accusations about this woman's death. She died in then Senator Scarborough's office back in July 2021 when she was 28 years old. I'm sorry, it's not Senator, Congressman Scarborough's office when he was a congressman back from Florida when she was 28 years old. Now, apparently what happened was that she had a bad heart. She passed out, hit her head, and died. But Trump is trying to say that Scarborough killed her somehow, although there was a full autopsy done. And even the woman's family says it was completely just, an unfortunate event. Now, following Trump's tweets, Klauskas' husband, Timothy, wrote a letter to Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, hoping for removal of the tweets, falsely accusing Scarborough of murdering on May 21st. However, Twitter has declined his request. Now, as reported by the Washington Post, there was no foul play in this woman's death. A medical examiner ruled her death to be accidental. Timothy mentioned in his letter that his late wife had an undiagnosed heart condition and wrote that the president's tweets have taken my memory of Klauskas and perverted it for perceived political gain. So meanwhile, there was some ugly protests in Minneapolis. There was chaos and destruction in Minneapolis last night as police officers and protesters clashed over the death of George Floyd. The outrage began with a video showing police arresting the 46-year-old in South Minneapolis Monday. I can't breathe. Please, the knee on my neck. Floyd is heard saying in the video. The video shows an officer kneeling on Floyd's neck, pinning him to the ground outside. Thousands have flooded the streets on the same intersection Tuesday afternoon to protest Floyd's death. They packed the area, but were also spread out to be socially distant. People took turns sharing their frustrations and grief with the crowd. Chants of "I can't breathe," and "it could have been me" filled the air. We're here to let them know this can't be tolerated. There will be severe consequences if they continue to kill us. We'll not go on another day, a protester has said. The protesters eventually made it to the police station. Some were interviewed. They said they were happy that the police got fired, but certainly nobody is going to be happy until they are charged with crimes and brought to trial. And by the way, we do have some Hump Day news, and we got to get to Hump Day. So we have some camels, Lee. We have some camels. Let's see. We have any camels today? What are those days? No camels today. All right. Well, it is Hump Day. I don't know what the Hump Day news is, but apparently there's some couples looking to be reunited in Denmark, asking to show some love letters. Now, Denmark has, let me turn that there. Denmark has eased its coronavirus restrictions and is now allowing in visitors seeking to be reunited with their better halves, so long as they can prove their romance is real. People who are married or engaged to somebody in Denmark, or those who have been tied romantically for the last 6 months, must present evidence of their relationship when they attempt to cross the border to join their partner. They can bring along a photo or a real love letter. I realize these are very intimate things, but the decision to let in the partner ultimately rests on the judgment of the individual police officer, said Chief of Police Alan Dallagher. The government later said in a written declaration it would be enough to be granted entry under the rules that went into effect Monday. If you say you're in a relationship and put it in writing, that should be enough. So the officers should not have to read your dirty love letters to each other. Meanwhile, the MTA is going to need some more disinfecting ultraviolet lamps. A couple took advantage of the practically empty transit system to get freaky on a subway platform, a new video shows. The nearly 1 minute long clip filmed by a chuckling onlooker from across the tracks appears to show a man and woman in the throes of passion having sex on the platform on Flushing Avenue Station in Brooklyn. We don't know when this was shot, but we know it's an empty train station recently, and they just pulled their pants down and started having sex right there. Now, in a bid to stop the spread of coronavirus, the MTA has contracted more cleaners, rolled out virus-killing ultraviolet lamps, and even taken the unheard of step of suspending the service. Now, asked about the lewd public display of affection, aka having sex on the platform, the MTA took pride in the cleanliness of its stations. Basically said, "We are proud the subways are as clean as they've ever been. No need to try them out like these geniuses." Apparently, they thought it was so clean that they could go and just drop their pants right there. Meanwhile, an enterprising Swiss sex worker has devised some inventive ways for their colleagues to service clients spreading the coronavirus by doing the deed doggy style and reverse cowgirl. Now, this opportunistic courtesan drafted the guidelines in hopes that Switzerland will lift the temporary ban on prostitution. But aforementioned sexual positions allow for a safe distance between faces during hanky-panky. I don't buy that. If you're going to have sex with somebody, it doesn't matter which way you're facing, you're going to end up getting coronavirus. Make sure you're not having sex with anybody with coronavirus, because you're going to get it. Whether you're facing this way, you're facing that way, you're facing this way, that way, it doesn't matter. You're going to get it. I don't care what they say. Meanwhile, coronavirus concerns have forced sex workers to paradoxically practice the world's oldest profession from afar. But one enterprising Nevada escort has devised an ingenious way to stay afloat and capitalize on lockdown loneliness by offering virtual girlfriend experience. She says, "I can be there for you," says Alyssa Starr, 31, a self-proclaimed girl next door. After statewide non-essential business closures in March forced her to leave the Sherry's Ranch, a legal brothel near Las Vegas, she has been struggling. However, unlike the steamy webcam sessions, which have become the go-to for the unemployed sex worker, Alyssa's virtual girlfriend experience service skews more towards casual couple style interactions. It's kind of like when we're together, it would include like cuddling and sharing moments with each other, taking our time. The former courtesan describes her routine with one client. When we wake up with each other, we wake up, we say good morning and kind of describe our day with each other, maybe meet, share meals that we're having, encourage each other to stay positive, saying good night, maybe a phone call every once in a while. And in essence, she's just basically a rented girlfriend over the telephone, I guess. Now, in Thailand, there was a foot fetishist that was arrested after stealing and having sex. Like I'm reading this right, having sex with 100 pair of flip-flops. The guy wanted to have sex with 100 pairs of flip-flops. A Thai man with an unhealthy obsession, you would say that, with shoes has been arrested for stealing more than 100 pairs of flip-flops he admitted having sex with. How do you have sex with a flip-flop? I guess you would, that part that comes at the front. I don't know, but that sounds like it's got to hurt. I'm just thinking about that. That's got to hurt. It's rubber. Police in central Thailand first knew something was awry after receiving dozens of complaints from locals over missing shoes. Now, CCTV footage eventually revealed the culprit to be a local man, Thibat Clay, who was filmed lurking outside one of his victims' homes. Authorities apprehended the man on May 24th at his rented dwelling. The alleged footwear fetishist described how he would wear the sandals, which spanned every make and size. He says, and this was just for foreplay, the man would reportedly then caress and kiss the well-worn flip-flop, strip down, rub them all over his naked body, and then eventually make love to them. This is actually in the police report. Once he was done ravaging these flip-flops, he tossed them aside like a cheap floozy and looked for a new pair. Oh, my God. And finally, a South Korean football club has apologized for filling the stands with sex dolls. South Korean football team FC Seoul has apologized after fans accused the club of using sex dolls to fill empty stands. Last Sunday, the club played at home against Gwanji in South Korea's top football championship, which was due to start on February 29th, but was postponed because of the coronavirus pandemic. Fans were barred from the grounds, but however, some of the figures that they put in the stands were actually sex dolls. Yes, the fans pointed out that they look like sex dolls. Why are they putting sex dolls into the stadium? And one of the fans said, honestly, if you saw the mannequins, you should have thought it right away that there was something strange. Now, others were incredulous that no one on this soccer club noticed that they put sex dolls throughout the entire stadium. The female mannequin dressed in a white short sleeve t-shirt, breasts excessively stood out, the nipples were protruding, but nobody realized these were sex dolls that they were putting in the stands. You've got to be kidding me. Now, FC Seoul explained that although the dolls were made to look like real people rather than conventional mannequins, it had checked that they were not at all related to adult products before agreeing to install them. And they'd been told they would be mannequins, but apparently the company that installed them switched the mannequins for sex dolls. And there you have it. That is our hump day of the day. We got to get to our immigration questions now. Before we get to our immigration questions, I got to remind everybody, please subscribe if you like our show. Subscribe on YouTube and like and follow us on Facebook. If you want to join the Brad Squad, you got to first subscribe. You got to first like and subscribe on YouTube, like and follow on Facebook, and then you got to get to Jilly Bean on she is the manager of the Brad Squad Committee on Membership, and she will let you know whether you can become a member, and then you can join our group on Facebook. If you want to have a consultation with me, I'm much better on consultations than I am on Hump Day News. I can promise you that. And you can give me a call at 1-800-529-5465 or 212-227-8933. That's 1-800-529-5465 or 212-227-8933. We also have an Instagram account. You can follow us at Brad Show Live and find Shaky Brad. If you find Shaky Brad on Brad, there I am, Shaky Brad. Nope, I'm not shaking. Oh, there I am shaking. If you find Shaky Brad, you can like Shaky Brad. You can tag 5 of your friends, and you may be entered into my scratchy old hat for a chance to win a free consultation with me. And of course, if you don't get your immigration questions answered, you can always drop me a DM on my Instagram account at Real Brad Bernstein. And with that, by the way, I hope we have no magic 8-ball questions today. I'm going to put my magic 8-ball aside, okay? So everybody knows what the magic 8-ball question is. Brad, I filed a paper. When do I get my green card? I don't know what paper. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, and you want to know the exact date you're getting your green card. Only the magic 8-ball is going to know those answers. So if we get some of those questions, I'm going right to the magic 8-ball. All right, let's see what's going on Facebook first. Let's see. Bonali Bonojo. Oh, you know what I didn't do? I forgot. Before we get to our Facebook questions, oh gosh, I forgot. We have on Instagram. We asked people to leave their questions in our story, and we promised that I would answer those questions. So for those people who left their questions in our Instagram story at Bradshaw Live, here is the question and here is the answer. Bree Gigi says, hello, I hope all is well. I have a quick question pertaining to my father. He's a permanent resident who would like to apply for citizenship. He came over young and thought his mother applied for him for his citizenship. However, she did not, and then found out only that he was not a citizen about 6 years ago. He assumed that since he has always had a social security number, that it was a citizenship, not just permanent residency. Therefore, in the past, on his I-9 forms, he had checked the box saying he was a citizen. Do you know if this will lead to issues with him when he applies for actual citizenship in the near future? Would this be grounds for them to open a case for deportation against him? He had a previous 15-month stint on immigration jail due to being a false threat to the United States, but they exonerated him for that. So it sounds like he got cancellation of removal for his jail stint. And if he got cancellation of removal, and as part of the cancellation case, he was honest with them and said, by the way, I mistakenly filled out these I-9 forms wrong, then that cancellation removal would also cover whatever he did on his I-9 forms. We have to see what he said and what he did on his cancellation of removal case. So we need to get those records and find out a little more. Rack has a question. A pleasant day. My stimulus check was sent to my ex-husband's account. I filed my 2019 taxes April 2nd. However, they used the 28 joint information. I reached out to him when I got the stimulus letter at my house, then at the deposit in the account, but he refuses to give it over. What legal action can I take? That is not an immigration question. I'm not sure why you're answering it. All right, so those were the questions from YouTube. I got a stimulus check, and my husband's not giving it to me. That's beyond my scope of expertise. I answer immigration questions. All right, so with that, let's go to some of our immigration questions in something we like to call, you got an immigration question, I got an answer for you, in pandemic immigration questions answers. All right, Balani Bonojo says, I married in March this year to an African-American. Since the marriage has been legalized, I've been facing hell with him. Lots of brutal acts. He left home since last April till now. I'm tired of it. Can I file a VAWA? And I hope it's not too early to do. Please, Brad, advise. All right, Balani, nobody needs to stay in an unhappy marriage. Otherwise, you should be filing immediately, and you should be doing it right now. Give us a call. 1-800-529-5465. Mary Anderson with a question. Hi, Brad. Good evening. When you file for the I-360, do you get a receipt number for it? Yes, you do. Jacqueline Daly. No, she's just responding to somebody. Let's see. No immigration questions here. Hernandez Sammy with a question. Good evening, Brad. My leasing apartment refused to add my wife's name on the lease because she owes another apartment, even though we have chosen a payment plan to be making the payment. Please, Brad, advise me how else can I prove to USCIS that we live together? My leasing apartment refuses to add my wife's name on the lease because she has another apartment, even though we have chosen a payment plan to be making the payment. That has they won't add your wife's name on the apartment. Why does your wife have two apartments? And there's lots of ways to prove you live together. Not having a lease together is the least, you could have your bills together. You can have all your mail there. But why does your wife have two apartments? You guys got to be living together. You need to explain to me that, and that doesn't make any sense. What does a leasing company care whether your wife is on one lease, two leases, or three leases? So there's more to this story. You need a consultation. Let's see what else we got here. Brian Peterson with a question. Hi, Uncle Brad. I've got a question. My wife is a U.S. citizen. She's filed for me the I-130. The case is in the visa center. I live in Canada. How long do you think they will send me an appointment to the interview? I don't know. Your wife's a citizen. You have to do the pay the fees, do the affidavit to support. If you do everything like lickety split fast, 4 months, 5 months, hopefully, things could be slower, but somewhere in that range. Let's see what else we have here. Monica Gilrist Alvaranga. Hey, Uncle Brad, I filed the I-45. I checked the USCIS and said they were going to contact me for an interview. This was on May 5th. Do you think there would be an interview soon? What is the timeline from when they accept you for an interview with the current quarantine? It could be over a year, because just because they say you're ready for an interview doesn't mean the interview happens. What happens is when they say you're ready for an interview, they mail the case to the local office, and you sit in the backlog until the local office has a spot for you. So from the time they say they're ready for an interview to the time you get an interview could be anywhere from 3 months to more than 12 months. So don't go by what's there. Deanne Tupis has a question. My husband is on an H-4 visa. He received a decision notice that his petition to change the non-immigration status be denied due to non-appearance for biometrics, but we did not receive any mail about it. The notice says we have to leave the country 33 days after the receipt of his mail. His I-797 is valid till May 2021, and the I-97 is valid until 9/2020. First of all, it's the I-94. Okay. Does he need to leave the country? How can he get his status back? Let's read this question one more time. He's on the H-4 visa. He received a decision that his petition to change non-immigration status be denied due to non-appearance for biometrics, but he did not receive any mail about it. The notice says he has to leave the country 33 days. So what did he do? He tried to do an extension. His I-797 is valid till May 2021, and he is invalid until September 2020. Did he try to do a change of status to a different visa, Deanne? Is he extending his H-4? If he was denied, if he was trying to change his status, because I'm trying to understand your question, if he's trying to change his status and he was in legal status at the time, so he was on an H-4 and he's trying to get the student visa or an H-1B visa or whatever it may be, he falls back to whatever his status was when he got denied. So if he's still in legal status on his H-4, he's still in legal status. But I'm not sure what it is that he's trying to do. So you need to give us a little more context of what he's trying to do, or you can have a consultation with me, which is probably a smarter thing, at 1-800-529-5465. Mona Singh has a question. Hi, Brad. I got a letter for schedule my interview, but I filed a waiver. I got up to next year, January 2021. My question is, my waiver doesn't approve my next year. What will happen to the appointment letter? Hi, Brad. I got a letter to schedule my interview, but I filed a waiver. I got up to next year. By the way, could somebody on my crew tell Lenny to stop texting me? Hi, Brad. I got a letter for scheduled my interview, but I filed a waiver. I got up to next year, 2021. My question is, my waiver doesn't approve my next year. What will happen to the appointment letter? If you don't get a waiver, then you'll get a new appointment. Beverly Robinson King. Hello, Brad. What happens if I'm awaiting an interview for an I-45 from an approved VAWA? What will happen if I'm awaiting for an interview for an I-45 from an approved VAWA? What will happen? What do you think is going to happen? You're going to get an interview for your VAWA and get a green card. You got to wait. Lysandra Livermore with a question. Hi, Brad. If you received a notice to appear in court but did not attend because of the virus and did not receive another, what should I do? You should be making a motion to reopen your case if you were supposed to attend and didn't go. If it was because of the virus and they canceled court, then you're going to get a new notice. So I'm not sure if you're saying you got a notice and you chose not to go, or you were going to go, but the court was closed. If the court was closed, then you got to wait for a new notice. If the court was open and you chose not to go, then you got ordered deported. You got to make a motion to reopen very, very quickly. Abdul Razak has a question. Unemployment insurance considered a public charge? No, it is not. Mimo Minkov. Hi, Uncle Brad. Can you please advise, can an adjustment of status be denied because of a criminal citation? Yes, it can. Using the Metro, my Smart Trip card didn't register. A Metro police officer issued me a citation. This is on my personal record as a criminal record. Let me explain something to you. Just because you have a criminal record, it has to be an inadmissible. Not every criminal record is inadmissible or deportable. That in itself is not inadmissible or deportable. But when you first ask a question, can a criminal citation be inadmissible? Some can be, some aren't. It depends what the specific thing is. Your specific thing is not inadmissible. Let's see. Linda Shaw. Abdul Razak, getting unemployment insurance. Yes, I answered that. Senator D. Thomas, how long to wait for a work permit? No, I'm not going to do that to you, Senator. Assuming you filed an adjustment, somewhere between 3 to 5 months. Let's go over to YouTube and see what's going on YouTube. Nathan Green with a question. Hi, Brad. I was approved for a 90-day fiance visa on February 19th, but expired on June 18th. What is now? You got to refile again, unfortunately. You have to enter the United States within that time frame, or that visa is no good. So tell your fiance to refile for you quickly. Sad, but that's basically what you have to do. DJ China says, can you claim a lottery winning if you are legal or have a work permit? The answer is yes. You can claim a lottery as long as you have a valid social security number. That's all they're going to ask. I had years and years ago, I had a client from Jamaica who won the New York State lottery. He won about 17 or $18 million, and he was out of status, but he had a social security number, and I helped him collect his money. So the answer is yes. We've actually even done it. So as long as you have a social security number, yes, you can collect lottery winnings, even if you're illegal. If you don't have a social security number, then they would not be able to give you the lottery winnings because you wouldn't be able to pay taxes on it. Madar Charla Ram Krishna says, hi, Brad. I filed the I-485 when I filed the I-360 in September 2018. My I-360 approved last month. My I-45 still shows fingerprints received. Do I need to file a new I-485 now? No. If you filed an I-45 and it's pending and you got your I-360 approved, your I-45 is still valid. You do not need to file a new one. As a matter of fact, you can't have two I-45s pending at the same time. So you're perfectly fine exactly doing what you're doing. Kenny, Ohio with a question. Hey, Brad, thanks for your amazing Brad Academy. Please, how long will the I-130 for a U.S. citizen spouse be before it becomes outside processing time? An I-130 shouldn't take more than 8-9 months to get approved. If you're at past 8-9 months, you should be giving me a call. Immigration has purposely slowed down all of these cases, but 8, 9, 10 months, you should be getting approved by that point. Claire Williams, great work, Brad, squad team. Can you get your interview without doing a medical? Yes, but then you would need to bring your medical at the time of the interview. Taslim Imam, hi, Uncle Brad, how are you? Do you have any news on Trump's travel ban extension? Is he going to extend the travel ban or will remain like previous? I don't know what he's going to do. Your guess is as good as mine. I gave up trying to think what that crazy guy's going to do a while back. We just got to see. Maritu Ducare. Hi, Brad. As a permanent resident, do you advise me to get married in my country before coming to America, or should I invite him here and then do it here? If he has a visitor's visa, then he can come. And if you get married more than 90 days, you're okay after he arrives. But you can't get him a visitor's visa to invite him for purposes of getting married. They're not going to give him a visitor's visa for that. That's not the purpose of a visitor's visa. So I think you need to have a consultation with me, and we can figure out what all the options that you may have. Kofi Ankoma. I filed for my dad, and he got approved for a green card, but he is still stuck in Africa because of the ban. His visa expires in a month. What should he do? Yeah, it's a problem. Hopefully, the ban is up, or hopefully the U.S. Embassy is open and they'll extend it. I don't know what they're going to do because there's a lot of people in this position. We got to see what the embassies have been closed, so we don't know. They haven't given us any advice on what they're going to do if you can't travel by the time these visas expire. It's a terrible thing. I hope they don't make you refile again. That would be terrible. So let's see. Let's hope that they'll give an extension. I assume they will, but with Trump, who the hell knows? Ope Moma Mumi. Key, God bless. Thank you. Why would a U.S. citizen file for adjustment of status for his 8-year-old kid? The kid should be a U.S. citizen at birth. The adjustment of status would be for a kid over 18 years old. The kid is a U.S. citizen at birth if the parent was a U.S. citizen at the time of his birth, and one of the parents lived in the United States for at least 5 years over the age of 14 before his birth. So if you don't qualify under those scenarios, he's not a U.S. citizen at birth, you would have to file an adjustment of status for him. There are certain people who don't qualify. I had a client who is a born U.S. citizen, which is a woman, and her parents took her back to her home country when she was 12 years old. And that's where she lived, her home country, meaning the parents' home country. Child was born in America. She now grew up as an adult. She has a child who is over 15, 16 years old, but that child's not a U.S. citizen because she didn't have the residence requirements at the time that when the child was born. She was not living in the United States for 5 years over the age of over 14. As a matter of fact, she never lived in the United States over the age of 14. Let's see what else we got here. Taslim Imam, we answered that question. Criminal citation, I answered. Mr. Shaker, we've been ready for an interview for 160 days. My wife starts grad school in New York in August. We now live in Kentucky. How should we approach this move? Should she go up there alone for now? No. You guys are going to need to live together. And if you still don't have an interview, then transfer your address to New York, and your case will be transferred to New York for an interview. Probably the New York officers, my guess, are better than the Kentucky officers anyway. So I'd prefer my chances in New York over Kentucky. Justin Brown, and you do it by filing an AR-11. Justin Brown. Hi, Brad. I filed my I-130 about 3 weeks now for my wife. I just realized that on my part, my parents were born here, but actually they were born in Jamaica. Will that affect anything? Hi, Brad. I filed my I-130 about 3 weeks now for my wife. I just realized that on my part, I put my parents were born here, but actually they were born in Jamaica. Will that affect anything? It shouldn't, but if there's an issue, you should be able to correct it. You're a naturalized U.S. citizen. If there's any issue with that, they can contact you. But the fact is, whether your parents were born in America or born in Jamaica has no bearing on whether your wife is entitled to a green card. Goldie 34 from University of Minnesota has a question. Hi, Brad. What does it mean for your I-360 to show that your card has been mailed and your I-45 says the case has been transferred to another office that has jurisdiction? Maybe the I-360, they're talking about the work permit, and the I-485 was transferred to a local office for an interview. Taking a guess, I'm not 100% sure. Stacy Dahl, because I didn't work on the case, but that would be my guess. Stacy Dahl with a question. Hi, Brad. How soon after the initial entry can a green card holder leave the U.S., and how long do you recommend staying out without any issues? You can leave the next day. You can stay one day. I wouldn't stay out for more than 3-4 months at a time. You have to be physically in the United States for more often than not. So as soon as you're going to stay out more than 3-4 months, they're going to start questioning what you're where you're permanently living. And certainly, if you stay out for 3-4 months, come back for a day, stay out for 3-4 months, come back for a day, eventually they're going to stop you anyway, because they're going to say you're not permanently living in the United States. Granite Zamari has a question. Hi, Brad. Thanks for taking your time to answer. Does overstaying on a J1 considered unlawful presence before August 8th, 2018? No, it is not. It's only unlawful presence after that date. And I'm not sure if that's the date on August 8th, 2018, but it used to be that if you overstayed on a J1 or an F1, that it was not, you were out of status, you overstayed, but you were not unlawfully present for the 3 and 10 year bar, which are two different things. So yes, if you overstay on your J1, let me just make this clear. If you overstay on your J1 visa, you are out of status. You were not unlawfully present for the 3 and 10 year bars if you went home and came back on a J and an F until about a year and a half ago or 2 years ago. They changed the law. I don't remember if the date was exactly August 18th, 2018, but it sounds like that's the correct date, somewhere around there. But that's for the 3 and 10 year bar. That's not for whether I'm in legal status or not. El Semi Orellana has a question. Hello, I want a petition for my husband. I'm showing extreme hardship, and he was the main source of income before he was deported. Do I need to file an affidavit and make enough before the petition? That's a problem, because if you're going to say my husband was the main source of income, then you're going to say I can't support him here. Then you're going to need a second affidavit of support. But I think you're going to have to show more than he was the main source of income. You're going to have to show emotional hardship as well. That the main source of income is in of itself is not going to do it. It may be a piece of the puzzle, but you got to be very careful, because at the same time you're saying, well, could be denied for poverty guidelines because I can't support it. So I think you're going to need a good lawyer on that. Uzman has a question. Hi, Brad. My uncle filed the F4 for my parents in 2008 when I was 14. Will I be protected by Child Status Protection Act? I don't know how old you are, Uzman, and I don't know when the I-130 was approved. So I would need to know a lot more. Talzam Imam, when will the National Visa Center be reopening? I don't know if they made an announcement. I know USCIS announced June 4th, so I'm going to assume that the National Visa Center will be right around that same time. But I have not seen the announcement for that yet. Let's see. See what else we got here. Janice Perez Darakan. Almost 6 months, and they said I can wait for the approval of results. I'm not sure what you're talking about. And really important, waiting for my extension right now. The I-539 still waiting for the RFE response, and due to Corona is delayed. What should I do? If you're more than 6 months, you got to file an extension again, even if you didn't get the first extension. You can't just be here and say, I filed an extension for 6 months. It's more than 6 months, so I don't have to do anything. You got to do something before that 6 months is up. File an additional extension because of Corona. So you can't just sit back and say, I'm not going to do anything. I haven't heard from immigration. File another 539 for an additional extension because of Corona. Hernandez Sammy, can a temporary green card holder give an affidavit of support? Yes. Goldie Sean yelling at me. How can you find out if you're under removal proceeding status if you are a no-show for a Stokes interview? You can, there's a telephone number to call. It's a USCIS number, and you can enter in your alien registration number, and they'll tell you whether you've been ordered deported or whether you have a court date. And that's 1-800-898-7180, and you can call that. It's an electronic number. Charmaine Miller says, hi, Uncle Brad. How long does the National Visa Center take to DQ your documents before being able to get an interview date? To DQ it. Dairy Queen it? What does DQ mean? To down the Quarriot, Dairy Queen. I'm not sure what DQ means, but they generally take about 2 to 3 months. If everything's good, then they'll transfer the case for an interview. Javel Finnegan, Uncle Brad, what's going to happen to all the Jamaican people who are in the States on visitor's visa and then go over 6 months due to coronavirus? Not sure when they're going to be reopening. All those Jamaica people and all those people from Trinidad and all those people from Guyana and all those people from every country around the world should be filing extensions. That's exactly what they should be doing. They should not be staying here, well, I'm just going to be illegal. You should be filing extensions. And you can get an extension because of coronavirus. Helena Tadis. Hello, Uncle Brad. I'm a green card holder. My husband lives in Ethiopia, but he had a work visa. He's a pilot and was visiting me. We even had our legal marriage procedure in the U.S. on September. And when he applied for a visitor's visa to be part of our baby arrival, he was denied twice, and they even told him he abuses his visa for other purposes like visiting me and the marriage. So, Brad, can I apply for a green card with no problem? And what can we do about the rejection of his visa? Sounds like maybe he committed a misrepresentation, and they think he committed a misrepresentation because of that he was coming here to get married and live with you. And if that's the case, yes, you should file for him, but also he may need a waiver at the end. Linda Shaw with a question. Uncle Brad, do you know if the National Visa Center will refund back my daughter's visa fee, which I pay and she didn't get through? She was petitioned for, but she was over the age. No, they're not going to refund it. I'm sorry. Simona Sabiti, can my father file for me if I have DACA? Absolutely. Documentarily qualified. Tanisha Joseph, thank you very much. Yeah, when you're documentarily qualified, I kept thinking Dairy Queen, and that's where my head is, ice cream. If you're documentarily qualified, yes, it should be about 2 to 3 months, and they should transfer everything. Hernandez Sammy with another question. My wife has a priority partners insurance. Does this constitute a public charge for using it? She wants to file for my adjustment. I'm not sure what priority partners insurance is, but it doesn't sound like Medicaid, so I think you'll be okay. Little Miss Pretty James, what if you went on an interview at the Jamaica Embassy 1 year now and don't get back any information? They still have your passport. I think that's a problem with your case, and you should contact the embassy and say, what's going on? It's been a year, or have a lawyer contact the embassy on your behalf. Audrey Gooden, good afternoon. Thanks for the good job you always do. Can a citizen who schooled and worked for 35 years then choose to go back home, return, marry, and file for a spouse? Absolutely. You can absolutely do that. Kirk Brown, DQ means disqualify, Brad. Well, everybody got it wrong. It means documentarily qualified. And finally, hi, Brad. My uncle filed for the F4 for my parents in 2008 when I was 14. I'll be protected. I'm now 27 and not approved yet. Yes, you will be protected. If the I-130 is still not approved yet, you're going to get to add 13 years at least onto your age of 21. So you'll get to about 34 before you fall off the case, somewhere in that range. But we have to see when it gets approved. Vinika Grant, but you also have to stay single. Vinika Grant has a question as well. Hey, Brad, I submitted my passport application since February 25th. Still haven't received it. Are you aware when the passport office will be open? Passport office should be open, and hopefully you should be getting it shortly. Maybe they slowed down because of coronavirus. Luckily, there's no way to travel anyway, but hopefully you'll get it very, very soon. Max Kitchen says, I passed this question twice. I didn't see it, Max. If you say it right now, instead of complaining, I'll be happy to answer it. Jamaica Doll with a question. Good evening, Mr. Brad. What's the process to adopt a child from Jamaica to get to America? Wow, that is a loaded question. First of all, to adopt a child from Jamaica, the child has to be an orphan, no mother, no father. If there is a mother or father alive, you're not going to go off and kill the mother or father, but you would have to strip the parents of their parental rights because they either abandoned or neglected the child. It's not enough for the parents to sign the child over to you, because then that child is no longer an orphan. So it has to be done in the proper way of stripping parents of their parental rights through a court order. And you have to go to court to do that and say, these parents are terrible parents. They neglected the child. They abandoned this child, or they can't afford to raise this child. And then you got to take that child out of the parent's home and become that child's legal guardian in Jamaica. At the same time, you would have to file what's called a pre-adoption here in America with a local court and a social services agency who's going to come and review how you live, where you live, make sure you have a nice, clean home, do your fingerprints, make sure you are not any child abusers or sex predators. And then at that point, once you strip the parents of their parental rights, or unless they're already passed, unfortunately, and once you have this pre-adoption certificate from the local court, then you can start the orphan petition. That is the only process to go through to get a child here through an adoption. You would bring the child to America and adopt the child here. If you're going to adopt a child in Jamaica, you're going to have a hard time bringing this child here, because then you would have to prove that you and the child lived in the same house for 2 years and that you had legal guardianship of that child for 2 years, and the cases always get screwed up because the adopting parents in America rarely ever have the 2 years living in the same home as that child. Max Kitchen. What if I come to the United States on a visitor's visa and get married and put in my adjustment status before 90 days? What's going to happen? What's going to happen is they're going to accuse you of misrepresentation for lying what your purpose was of coming to America. And then you're going to have a rebuttable presumption to say, no, I didn't lie. I really wasn't coming to America to get married. I was coming to visit and something happened and now I decided to get married. And if they believe you, great. And if they don't believe you, they're going to deny you. And then you're going to need to file a waiver. So that's your answer, Max. All right. So that is our show for the day. But before we go, I do got to remind everybody, please subscribe on Facebook if you liked our show. That way you get notified every time we come live on the air. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. Same thing. You'll know when we come on the air. If you want to have a consultation with me, the telephone number to call is 1-800-529-5465. That's 1-800-LAW-LINK, 1-800-529-5465. You don't need to start any more watch parties right now. We're done. But if you want to, didn't get your immigration question answered, you can follow me at Real Brad Bernstein on Instagram, and you can drop me a DM there. You can also follow us at Bradshaw Live on Instagram as well. Get all the best of our show's content. With that, we have our comments of the day. Let's see what our comments of the day are. And our comments of the day are: Laverne Parker, squad up to the best immigration news station. Thank you very much, Laverne. Tally, you need a consultation with the immigration guru, Uncle Brad. That's right. Thank you. Thumbs up. And Patronella Suarez, Uncle Brad, you are the best lawyer ever. We greatly appreciate you. Thank you again. Thank you all. And tomorrow, just a programming note. Tomorrow, there will be no show, but we will be back on Friday. So I will see you all Friday for a Friday celebration on Bradshaw Live. Thanks for watching.